Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, here we go. Friday night, it's Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of guys hanging out every week talking about what's going on in the NFL. Tonight's episode 41. And so for tonight, we're going to start things off with Name That Stadium, like we always do. After that, we'll hit the news of the week. And then the bulk of tonight's show is all about providing our 2021 NFL mock draft, which we're going to cover rounds one and two. And then last but not least, we'll do our question of the week. So with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's good, man. Got my second COVID shot today. So far, so good. I'm hanging in there, I would say a little hazy, but not bad. And my arm hurts like an MFer, but it's okay. So far, I can handle it.
Good.
It's all about beating this thing, getting back to, going to the games in person and having that kind of fun.
Yeah, they say 60% where government or the government will feel more comfortable opening more and more up. So 60% vaccinated.
Gotcha. Well, hey, I think we're just over 50% have had at least one shot, right? Something like that. So,
Yeah, something like that.
it's creeping in that direction. We just got to keep our fingers crossed that these variants aren't going to jack things up too bad. But okay, enough of that. Let's do name that stadium. So in this part of the show, basically, as you can see, James is out there traveling the country. Every week, he's got a new stadium in his background. And what we're doing is we're asking our viewers if you think you know what that stadium is, go ahead and pop your answer in our comments section. If you're the first person to get the right answer, we're going to give you a special shout out in the next week's show. James, why don't you tell us where you were at last week, man?
I was at First Energy in Cleveland last week. No, just basically we were talking about the AFC NFC North last week, and so I picked a team in one of those divisions.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I think I was telling you before that I went out there, not this past year, but the year before, for a game against the Steelers. That was the Miles Garrett, Mason Rudolph game where all that
Yeah,
craziness happened, and it was freezing balls, man. But it was, I tell you, there's a lot of energy, no pun intended, at that stadium. The dog pound, they know how to do it, man. There's some diehard fans there. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, hey, moving on. So that's name that stadium. Let's do our recap of the past week. I think the big news, which was announced earlier in the week, was that Alex Smith has retired from the NFL. Basically, this is a guy that I think early on there were some concerns about whether he was going to make it in the league. He's a former number one overall pick, and despite the slow start, he had a very respectable 16-year career, made it to three Pro Bowls, and he may not have had like the stats of the premier passers over this same time period, but the guy was a great game manager. And I think the big story with him was these past couple of years how he had that gruesome leg injury with like a million different surgeries, and somehow fought his way back and got onto the field this past year and actually had a pretty incredible run with the Washington football team. And so, it's yeah, I think it was a really good story for this guy, really nice career, and wish him the best in retirement.
Yeah, like if you look at him, dude, he was more like a coach towards like the last like I don't know what 5 7 years or so. He was like he had Kaepernick that came up under him,
Then
Mahomes came up
Mahomes,
under him,
yeah,
and like he was trying to do the same with Haskins, but Haskins was just a fuck up. But yeah, he had a I think he had a solid career. I mean, never obviously won a championship, but I mean, he made the playoffs quite a few times as a starter. or his team's made the playoffs, or he helped lead his teams to the playoff, whatever you want to say. Because Washington's kind of a like iffy one because
Hmm.
he was out for a few weeks, but it's amazing that he was able to come back. I guess there's a documentary on it, like all the shit he went through in his rehab and his like 17 surgeries and had to have like the what's the Secretary of Defense had to give him special permission to go to this one specific Army doctor that specializes in battlefield injuries and
Oh
shit.
man. Yeah, I mean, he's lucky he didn't lose the leg, and
Hmm.
to be able to come back and give it one more run in the NFL was one heck of a story, man.
Yeah, and probably more along the lines of just to prove he could do it and come back.
Yeah. I think we were all nervous for him when he got on that
Hmm.
field. I didn't think he was ready for it. He just didn't look like he was close to his playing weight. He looked very skinny compared to where he was before it all went down, and that just kind of made me nervous. It's like, oh man, if he's not ready, he shouldn't be rushing it back into action. But I think he did himself well, man. I think he played very well, won some games, and it was a solid way to close it out.
Yeah, if you watch the game, like when he went out on the field for that first play or first series, like the cameras went over to his wife, and his wife had this oh shit look on her face, like.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Uh,
So that was just a little interesting thing I saw in that game. But I mean, hey, he was able to come back. He had some hit and miss games, but
yeah, that's cool. It's good for him, man. All right. So, other news, which this one ties into tonight, and I don't have all the details, but Kansas City and Baltimore, they made a trade. And so basically, Baltimore's sending Orlando Brown and a second round pick over to Kansas City, and Kansas City's giving them their first. And then I think like, some other picks, like later round picks, maybe even next year picks. But we'll reflect that in our mock draft tonight, with what the current correct up to date picks are.
yeah, it was like I have it right here. It was so the Ravens got first round this year, third rounder this year, and a fourth rounder this year. First, third, fourth this year, fifth next year, and the Chiefs got Orlando Brown and a second round this year and a sixth round next year.
Yeah, that's a lot of action, man. They packaged
Yeah,
up a lot to get that deal right, which, I think it tells you that you got some savvy people that know how to get the right value. And it took all of that kind of finagling to get the deal done, which is pretty impressive.
yeah. I'm actually surprised that Baltimore traded with Kansas City. Like Kansas City is clearly the number one team in the AFC, and Baltimore has to go through them. And as the Super
Yeah.
Bowl showed, like they couldn't protect Mahomes, and that was a problem. If I was Baltimore, I'm not sure if I would have made this trade. Yeah, you get another first round pick, but is it worth it to help Kansas City get better?
I agree with you because yeah, it's a good point that Kansas City struggled in that Super Bowl without their top tackles in that game, and now they went out, they got a highly rated guard. Now you're bringing in this guy who,
Tackle.
well, I mean,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
Tooney and free agency, but yeah, now they bring in Orlando Brown, yeah, who I would presume is going to play tackle. And yeah, I mean, you're really just kind of fortifying that offensive line. Um, yeah, I agree with you. It would have been nice to send him somewhere else, but maybe this was just the best deal that was out there, and they had fear of missing out. A little FOMO. If they didn't do it, maybe they couldn't get a deal done elsewhere.
Yeah, like I thought that Carolina was probably the best trading partner, but I mean to get a first round this year from Carolina for Brown, I mean
Oh
top
yeah,
10 pick. I
yeah,
mean
that's hard to pull.
that's a little bit high price to pay for him, but
Yeah, and I guess it all depends on how he performs. If he ends up being rock solid, it could have been worth it. But I think it's because of the limited footage, that affected the value maybe a little bit. But it's still a lot of picks moving around both ways, and so, um, I think it's good for him. He's getting what he wanted, which was, moving out to tackle, and I'm almost certain that that's what they're planning on doing with him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? He's going into his fourth year. Yeah, fourth year in the league, and two years already. He's made the Pro Bowl or All Pro or something shit like that. So I mean, he's having a solid career so far. So he
Oh yeah.
should be solid going in next year and going forward. I guess Kansas City announced that they were going to let him play out his contract before re-signing him,
Hmm.
which is interesting.
Yeah, prove it, and then we'll give you big money. I mean, they probably
Yeah,
have to because well, I guess I shouldn't say they have to with the way they manipulate the cap nowadays, but they've paid a lot of guys, and so maybe that's just the way it's got to work, is he's got to get in queue or something.
yeah.
All right, so that was really all I had for tonight. I figured, we'd focus most of our time on the mock draft, but if there was any other newsworthy stories, I will defer to you if you have anything you want to bring up.
Nothing that nothing that's like ringing out off the top of my head. I can't think. I don't think it was another slowish week. If it weren't for that trade today, I mean, it'd just been
Yeah,
Alex Smith.
it's that time of year, and just looking ahead after this next week, where the real draft occurs. I'm sure we'll be doing some analysis on that. We'll kind of be like going back, plugging these guys into their teams, and doing another off-season review. And who knows, after that, it's where it starts to get real thin. That's when we're going back doing, top 10 lists and rankings and things like that. And maybe even starting to talk fantasy football, which, hey, I guess that's newsworthy. I got the email from Yahoo today. Fantasy football registrations open back up. So, that's where we got to get creative. It's these, I would say like the next 2 months or so, things are going to have to, we're going to be pulling for what we want to talk about each week.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, hey, let's get to it. Let's do our 2021 NFL mock draft. And I guess we should start off just by talking about the format and, our personal methodologies, so to speak. And so, in terms of the format, we've agreed going into this that basically we're going to flip a coin to decide who gets the first pick. And then we're just going to rotate picks all the way through the first and second round. That makes it a little bit more realistic in that, we kind of got to build off of what each other are doing. In that, there's going to be some unpredictability in there because you're going to have different priorities and different rankings than I am necessarily. And so, this kind of keeps us a little bit honest. It's not like we're just kind of collectively coming up with what we think the perfect draft is. And for the sake of time, it's not necessarily set in stone, but we probably want to try and do about a minute a pick and just kind of, put a little bit of a sense of urgency on it. So it's almost like a little bit of a real life exercise. And, um, I'll say this for my methodology, which already a lot of this, but I prioritize quarterback first off. If you don't have one, you got to get a quarterback. But I'm huge on the trenches, and so I look at quarterback one, offensive line two, defensive line three. Quarterback and trenches, and then if a team seems like they're covered there, at least in some regard, then I'll start looking at other positions. And when I'm looking at some of the other positions, I'll typically prioritize, for example, if I'm looking at the secondary, oftentimes I'm probably going to put cornerback ahead of safety if a team has a need at both of those positions. I think a good cornerback can kind of cover up and make a safety's job easier. And so I kind of prioritize it that way. And then we've talked about this before, and I know we've disagreed on this a little bit, but with tight end, I typically consider it to be a luxury pick. I think there are some exceptions to that. So if a team has a young quarterback, or they're planning on maybe, going with a young quarterback, drafting one or whatnot, I think that's where it's beneficial to invest in a tight end, because that's a quarterback's best friend while they're developing. Or if it's a team that's known to run a lot of two tight end sets, like the Patriots are a great example of that. Like there's reason to do it, other than just as a luxury pick. It's just, I kind of just generally look at it that way. And then when I'm looking at offensive linemen, um, that's one of them where nowadays you get players that maybe have some versatility on the line, and so I'm not necessarily looking at okay, who's going to play tackle, who's going to play guard, yada yada yada. That does come into play a little bit, but I am kind of assuming some of these guys have some versatility and they can bounce around, and the offensive line coach can put the best five out on the field, and so if it's not like a home run necessarily exactly with that team, I'm just building in the assumption that they're going to juggle them around, but they want the most talented guy that they can get into that group. And so, why don't you tell me, James, a little bit about how you were looking at it?
So a lot of what I did is looking at the need and looking at the players that were available, and then trying to fit that player to that style. Like if you have a say hypothetically, I was looking at a running back as a need, and it was a spot where I could see them taking a running back. Looking at for like I'll use Najee Harris as an example. Najee Harris is basically Franco Harris reincarnated. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run the ball north and south. He's quick. And he can pass block. So is that the pass blocking running back? Is that more of a need for the team versus the not emphasizing or not really needing the running back to pass block? Stuff like that. Tried to put those fits together.
Okay.
And see if because if you have say Najee Harris or Etienne, if I'm going with a team that's going to pick one of those two, which one fits better into their system?
Yeah, so you're saying if the rating on two guys is pretty close, you're looking for who's the better fit for that team, maybe in terms of the scheme or how they kind of do things, because it's not always like if you're looking at the ESPN best available, it's not always about that overall ranking, because the overall ranking needs to be adjusted for how they're going to fit in that system, is what you're kind of
Exactly.
saying. Yeah. That makes good sense. I agree with all that. And it's tough. I mean, like I'm using a lot of the ESPN data because I like it. It's readily available. I also do like looking at Walter Football and, a bunch of different sources. But, obviously GMs, they got their own set of ratings here. And so, I'm sure we're going to be wildly off from what actually happens. But this is just, a couple guys' take on it, and that's the fun part of doing this.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, let's get to it then. I'm going to pull up my sheet here, and I've got the handy coin flip app on my phone. And so, James, I'm going to let you call it. If you get it right, you can pick whether you take one or have me take one. It'll be your choice. Okay. So,
Okay.
I'll tell you when it's in the air, and you call heads or tails. Okay, ready, go.
Tails.
It was heads, my friend. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I gotcha.
All right. So, proven that you didn't get it. I just want to keep it on the straight and narrow here. So that means I won it. Um, I'll take the first pick because it's just a no-brainer pick. And so, I'll start with the low-hanging, easy thing here. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Obviously, quarterback's a huge need. It's basically common knowledge they're going after Trevor Lawrence at this point. I've seen like all the crazy rumors about, oh, maybe they'll trade the pick or do this or do that. I don't think that it's any question. It's Trevor Lawrence, and so boom, there's one. On to you.
Trevor Lawrence has been the number one pick in the 2021 draft since he stepped foot on the football field at uh, where Clemson.
Clemson,
He's
yeah.
yeah, he's been the number one pick since then, so that's a no-brainer. This one, number two, it's another no-brainer. It's been all over the media. They traded Sam Darnold. I've been saying it for weeks. They're going with Zach Wilson.
Nice. Yeah, and that's a good one. It's the consensus pick, fills their top need. And, I tell you the one thing I like I've been hearing about him lately is comparisons to Russell Wilson with the way that he
Mm-hmm.
makes things happen out of the pocket and that stuff. So that's pretty exciting. So number three, this is where it gets interesting because San Francisco, clearly they moved up with the intentions of getting a quarterback, and it's just a matter of which one. I hear a lot about them liking Mac Jones. Is that a smokescreen? Is that, I don't know. I've heard Justin Fields' name's out there. Trey Lance's name is out there. We know that they still got Jimmy G, at least for a little while. So potentially they could get a guy and groom him. My opinion on this is that out of those three, Trey Lance is the higher rated on the board I'm looking at, which is the ESPN Best Available. I also I see him get comparisons to Josh Allen. I think he's got the best ceiling long term of these guys. And so even though there's some talk about Mac Jones maybe being like Shanahan's version of Matt Ryan out in San Fran, I'm plugging in Trey Lance into this spot here at number three.
I completely disagree with that. I completely disagree with that. Everybody who has scouted both Matt Ryan and Mac Jones have said that Mac Jones is Matt Ryan.
Okay.
Matt Ryan had an MVP under Shanahan, and I don't even think Trey Lance is even on the radar for San Francisco. I think it would boil down to Mac Jones or Justin Fields, but hey, it's your pick. You can go with who you want.
I'm throwing you the curveball early, man. And by the way,
Yeah,
you were high on Trey Lance a while ago, man. So I think you like him. You just don't like him here.
you're right. Exactly. I like Trey Lance. I think he's phenomenal. I agree with everything you said on him. I just think the fit is better. I think with Mac Jones and what Shanahan
Yeah.
did, because Mac Jones is the player that can step in now, and he's the only one of the remaining prospects that can step in right now.
I got you. But they do have Jimmy G, and so they might be patient.
It's a smokescreen that they want to keep Jimmy G.
Yeah, no, they want to trade him and get value out of him. I'm sure. But
Yeah.
hey, I got him in here, and I do hear what you're saying. Mac Jones does make a lot of sense. And that there is that Matt Ryan connection. But let's go with the Reddit guy we were talking about the other week. Neck size is a factor apparently, and Trey Lance takes the cake here. So, whatever the rhyme or reason, I'm just going with him. I like his upside long term the most out of these three guys in particular, and so that was kind of just my decision. But
Yeah.
next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons. Man, what do you think?
So with Atlanta, I mean, they have a lot of needs. There's a lot of talk out there that Atlanta might go with quarterback. You and I talked about it. Atlanta trying to trade this pick,
Yeah.
but I think the only choice Atlanta has here, and this goes to what you've said of an obvious player at a luxury position. This guy, Kyle Pitts, is going to be the pick for Atlanta. He's Calvin Johnson at tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Calvin Johnson. He's Julio Jones at tight end. He's got the size and the speed and the quickness and the. I mean, he's a little bit shy in the pass blocking, but he's a future Hall of Famer. And you might as well give him the gold jacket now.
Well, hey, that's an interesting way of putting it, and he definitely is getting a lot of those kind of reviews. I thought a lot about this one too, and I like that idea. We know that they need a defensive end and they need help in the secondary. They really need help at defensive end desperately. I just don't think they're going to get the right value here. and I don't think that there's really a good trade partner based on my analysis of where they're at and what that pick's worth. Uh, what I like about Kyle Pitts is that you're adding another weapon for these potentially last few years of the Matt Ryan era, where Julio is potentially starting to fade. And so you're bringing them in a boost, which is just going to give them all the weapons they need on offense while they figure out the defense. And so I like the pick, like you're calling it here. Um, all right, so next up is the Cincinnati Bengals, and this one I think is another no-brainer pick. They're going Penny Sewell. He's regarded as the top offensive line prospect despite opting out. Also regarded as the best run blocker. I know they want him to pass protect for Burrow. I don't know. Almost everybody I read up on is saying this guy's the number one guy. I hear Rashawn Slater climbed up there pretty fast recently, but it seems like Sewell's still the top dog, and so I'm going to plug him in here at number 5.
See, I had Slater here.
Okay.
It's just I hear Cincinnati's preference is not to have a guy that didn't play in the 2020 season, not to draft him, but it's neither here nor there because I had Sewell going to Miami. So it's just you're just flipping the picks on mine. I think Slater's going to go to Miami. They have the need to protect Tua. They have a lot of picks here. The people are saying, oh well, they're going to go wide receiver, but they have a lot of weapons that they've signed. So
Yeah.
I would go with the protection of Tua here and draft. Since you took Sewell at 5, Slater at 6.
Yeah, and hey, I'm just going to do this all night with you, James. I'm going to get you thinking on your toes, man. But no, I'm right there with you on Slater going at 6 to Miami. I've heard there's talk of them wanting to trade back, but just like you said, they have an obvious need at tackle, and Slater looks rock solid. They just need to do it, man. They need to protect Tua, and that's the end of it. So I like him there. Okay, so at number 7, this is where things get interesting. This is a spot where the Detroit Lions were slated in, but you and I agreed throughout the week as we looked at this. And there's some rumors floating out there whether they have any merit or not. But we have decided in our mock here that we've got the Patriots trading up to 7, and basically they're going to give the Lions their number 15 pick as well as their second round pick in return. And based on our draft pick value chart, that looked like a fairly even trade. Kind of keeps it simple for tonight. Maybe in reality, it's a little different than that, but that's just our best guess at a trade here. So with the Pats on the clock, if they're trading up to 7, I think it's because they want to go and get a quarterback. And there's still a couple of options. There's Mac Jones. I think he would fit well in that McDaniels offense, that playbook, all that kind of fun stuff. But I think the pick here is Justin Fields. Once again, I'm going with guys that I think are higher rated and have the higher long-term potential. And I think Fields has the edge over Mac Jones. Even though I do agree with you, James, I think Mac Jones is probably the better day one starter. I just don't think he has as high of a ceiling.
Yeah, and when I went through this, I agree with you that they're not going to go Mac Jones, definitely. Well, Mac Jones won't be here, I don't think. But of all the QB prospects I'm reading about that New England's interested in, weirdly, Mac Jones is the one they're not interested in.
Oh wow, that's yeah. I thought Belichick liked his SEC guys, and that's
Yeah, it's just something there that for some reason New England does not have Mac Jones on the radar. I think that right here and where I went with my picks, they traded up to get Trey Lance.
okay. So hypothetically, well, I was going to say no, it's not a flip with what I did with San Fran because I got them with Lance, and you got them at Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, that moves us to number 8, the Carolina Panthers, man. What do you think they're going to be doing?
Carolina needs a lot of things. One of the key takeaways from Sam Darnold's career in New York is he didn't have weapons around him. And that's why I think Carolina goes with Jamar Chase here. I think he's by far he's the best wide receiver of this class. It's a loaded wide receiver class, but by far he's the best wide receiver here.
I like that. I like that pick. And I think they've already got a couple of good weapons in
Mm-hmm.
uh, what is it, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. I think they would be chomping at the bit to try and get Kyle Pitts. It's just not going to happen for them. And then obviously they got McCaffrey in the backfield. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
One
Uh,
one cab one caveat to this is one of the things with we tend to go offensive line,
yeah.
and it just occurred to me here that a lot of people have Jamar Chase going to Cincinnati because of the Burrow connection.
I have heard that too, and it could happen, but man, if they don't get him some protection, I mean, that's just negligent at that point, it seems like.
Exactly.
Oh, geez. Okay, so that kicks it over to me at number 9. We got the Denver Broncos, and honestly, James, this is where I'm fully winging it. I didn't want to plan too far ahead because I figured just like I'm throwing you curveballs, you'd be throwing me curveballs. And so at 9, I'm looking at Denver. Quarterback's a priority for them, but what I've heard is that if they can't get one of these top guys, basically Drew Lock rates just as high or higher than Mac Jones and some of the guys that go after. And so if they're not able to trade up or have a guy fall to them, more than likely they're skipping the quarterback spot and they're basically just banking on Drew Lock. I think it's dicey, but I'm just not sold that Mac Jones is the right guy for Denver anyhow. So with that being the case, I'm looking at protection, or just trenches in general. And I think that the offensive line has a guy sitting there that has a lot of versatility that can add value because Denver's line, they're patchy, man. And maybe you need a guy that can come in and you can move them here or there or wherever based on how it works with the group. And so based on that, I think Elijah Vera Tucker from USC is the guy here. It may be a little bit high, but he's been getting a lot of hype as of late. And they're saying he could play tackle, he could play guard. I think he's going to be a very high caliber guard in the NFL. But if they need him at tackle, then they can use him there too.
That's interesting. I didn't have Vera Tucker going till the second round.
He could slide. I've heard some
Yeah.
varying opinions on this guy. Uh,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
but what I do hear coming out of Denver is that um, they're in love with Justin Fields.
Okay. Yeah. So if,
So
so if he
I have
slides,
I have Fields actually sliding to here, um, based on what I'm reading on the other teams interested in it. I have Mac Jones as the fourth best quarterback in this class, but with the fit in San Francisco, that's why I have him going higher. And then Trey Lance, and I actually have Justin Fields as number 5. So
yeah, and Justin Fields, I will say this. He is being viewed as a very high risk, high reward pick at this point because the college tape has some mixed results. But he did get it done on the playoff stage, and I know a lot of people put a premium on that. Um, when I watch him play, I just love the amount of air he can put under the ball and still have like a great accurate pass. That's something that you don't find every day. But it'll be interesting to see where these GMs put him in real life.
mhm.
Okay, so that takes us to number 10 with the Dallas Cowboys, man. What are you thinking?
So for Dallas, and this is actually where I thought you were going with Denver's pick for a minute. So Dallas, with having Zeke and they do tend to throw a little bit of the screen pass, and they have to protect their quarterback. I have them picking Alex Leatherwood here.
Okay. So let me just make my note. Yeah, I'm trying to find where I got him in my notes here. Because I think I had him down a little bit farther. Let's see. Yeah. So up. Okay. So I got my note on him that he could play right tackle, but he projects much better as a guard. Locks onto guys really well. And I mean, hey, they need that help. I don't know if I've heard much about him play in center, and I think that's Dallas's big need. But it's the same kind of thing. You get him in at guard, and maybe somebody else bumps over to center. Like there's
Yeah, and,
teams can do that stuff these days, like
and
it's not set in stone.
Dallas's need also is basically the entire offensive line. They need to retool it there because they're starting to age out.
Yeah, and all, yeah, like I'm sure they would have been chomping at the bit to get Elijah Vera Tucker, but because that's the kind of guy that you can just move anywhere you want. But it sounds like Leatherwood has some of that versatility too. So, I think it fits a need. I like that pick there. I would have preferred to maybe move him down here to this next pick with the Giants. I've got them. Honestly, the Giants, I have them needing three positions on that offensive line. And I think that with how much they're putting on Danny Dimes to be the guy, they've got to protect him if they're ever going to expect him to take that next step up. And so when I'm skimming through my list here and I'm looking at best available, they could sacrifice and they could go defensive end. If there's a higher rated guy, I know they need an outside linebacker. I don't think that that's good value here. Same with the safety. I don't think it's good value here. I'm looking at Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. He looks like some people are saying possibly the best pass blocking offensive lineman in the class. And he's still pretty darn highly rated. So I don't think that it's like too out of line with what they could be doing here from a rating standpoint.
See, I think that's a little early for Darisaw. I had him actually going 20.
Okay.
So you're a little bit throwing a wrench into my mock here. I actually think they draft Micah Parsons here. He can play inside outside linebacker. He's by far the top linebacker in this draft. Might have there's possibly some character concerns, but I don't see what I'm reading. I don't see as an issue. I mean, he's just a big playmaker.
Yeah, and that would fill a big need. They have Blake Martinez there, but they could just kind of move him around. I think Parsons can play inside or outside. Martinez, they could adjust to kind of make the combination work, and that would fit a big need. And I mean, I'm just looking at my board right now. We've already got five offensive linemen. It's a bit heavy, but kind of like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about, we value the trenches. If you want to get good offensive play, you got to protect your quarterback. And we'll see if this continues. And maybe we're just like way too aggressive on the offensive line, but it's interesting so far. Okay, so number 12, Philly, man, what do you think there?
So Philly is. It took me a long time. Like this was like one of the hardest like picks in my mock draft. So Philly has a lot of needs. Let me pull up their needs real quick because it's ridiculous how much they need. So Philly needs wide receiver, outside linebacker, cornerback, safety, defensive end. So
Yeah.
I think they're going to go defense. They kind of struck out the last few times they've tried to draft a wide receiver, especially this early. Was or I forget who they drafted last year over Jefferson. It was so. Anyways, this player is the lockdown cornerback. He's got great size. He's strong tackler. It's going to be Patrick Surtain. The
Yeah, and he's got the
second.
bloodline. I like that. I think
Yes.
that that fills a huge need for Philly. I would personally like to see him go wide receiver just because they're moving into the Jalen Hurts era, and I'd like to see them give him some weapons. But I agree with you. They've not had great success drafting guys there, and so yeah, maybe they look to do something on the defense. And they did have a couple guys kind of flash some potential last year at wide receiver too. So maybe they're just banking on them developing. That could be something that we see happen here and play into what you're saying. Okay, so that gives me the Chargers at number 13. And this is where it gets interesting because if it plays out kind of like the way it has, uh, their new coach has made it very clear that he wants a left tackle. But I think that this is where the board starts to get a little bit lopsided, and they got to start looking at where they're going to get the most bang for their buck. And honestly, with the way some of these guys are already starting to slide, I think they're getting their most bang for their buck at the wide receiver position. There's been talk that they want to get a better number two to go with Keenan Allen. And my top guy on the board here is Devonta Smith. He's extremely polished, seemingly always wide open at Alabama. And you're giving Herbert a guy to basically play out the next 10 years with if everything goes right. And so, I would like to see him get the left tackle. I just don't think they're getting the right one here. And so they're going with their next best thing is giving him a weapon to throw to. I'm putting in Devonta Smith.
It's an interesting pick there. I had Devonta Smith as uh, my number three receiver. So I thought that I was looking at Caleb Farley here for the Chargers, but
And if I'm just looking at the ratings, so basically we're talking a difference of 93 to 91. Farley, we're not talking some big gap here. That's definitely a possibility. And so I don't know. I just see Devonta Smith, ESPN Best Available has him ranked fifth overall. Seeing him slide much further than this, I don't know. I mean, it could happen. Anything could happen. I just thought that this was a good place for him. So
all right.
I'm
So
just
that
I'm just I'm
gives
just wrecking your mock, man.
eh,
We'll have to
just
we'll have to go back and clean it up later. We'll have to grade each other.
yeah. So I'm trying to find my notes on this guy from Minnesota. It's I apparently didn't save them, so you'll just have to
Yeah,
bear with me here. I
you
just
got
have to.
about 30 seconds left.
So
No, take your time, man.
Minnesota is going to go with an edge rusher here, and I'm thinking it's going to be Gregory Rousseau from Miami.
Okay.
He's a little bit probably not your top guy, but he's he's long. He has he's good in the hand battles. Keeps his eyes in the backfield. He's he's just one of those good all around edge players.
Yeah, and so one of the things I read about him is that he's size-wise a little big for end, but a little light for tackle. And they're saying he's got potential in both spots at the next level where he could actually be a really good mismatch at tackle, but that the expectation is he's going to play defensive end. And I have him, rated a little bit lower, like you said, but I still think you know, it's it's a need for them, and it's a guy with upside. So what the heck? I mean, it's all about pick your poison here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that puts me at number 15. This is where the Detroit Lions have traded down with their trade with the Patriots that we're projecting. It hasn't actually happened, at least not yet. And so this is one of these ones where you know, you when I'm looking at my board, you've got a couple different needs here. Okay, the Lions, they need a wide receiver, they need an offensive lineman, they need a safety, they need a cornerback, they need an inside linebacker. You know, I think a lot of people are saying maybe wide receiver. I just don't like Jalen Waddle as my top guy on the board right now. 93 rating. The other guy with a 93 rating is Micah Parsons. He, like you mentioned, he's just like a freakish linebacker. And I think with Dan Campbell coming in talking about biting off kneecaps and things like that, I think Micah Parsons ends up being the pick, and the Lions love it if they can get him here.
Interesting. Like I said, I had actually had them going with Waddle here.
Okay.
I with Waddle, I think he's basically Tyreek Hill reincarnated. Like he's Tyreek Hill Jr. He's got that speed. He can get the separation. He's just a phenomenal wide receiver, and I would love to see the Lions draft him here. If Parson goes to the Giants, like I think he's going to, I think I had Waddle going here to the Lions.
Okay. I got you. Yeah, and I guess my hesitation on Waddle was, he got hurt last year. Um, you know, I think the size for me was maybe a little concern. It's just that if I'm looking for a true number one, I guess I kind of want a little bigger of a guy. But it's what do the Lions want? And we know they have a need. If they're going into the season with Tyrell Williams and Brashad Perriman, it's going to be dicey. But I think this it's such a stacked wide receiver class. I think they can get a guy later on, and they do have two picks in the second round. So, I'm just looking for basically with Parsons. If he slides, I'm giving him the best guy on the board on my board anyhow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. If Parson was here when I did my mock draft, I would have probably had the Lions picking Parsons too.
All right. Well, hey, next up, you got the Arizona Cardinals. Tell me what you think.
This is another NFL bloodline guy. He's basically physical man coverage. He can play. Capable of playing in different defensive schemes. He's good at impeding route runners. This is J.C. Horn from South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of good stuff on that guy. Um, yeah, what I've been reading on him is just extremely competitive, fights hard in one-on-one battles, and very highly rated, man. So yeah, that helps. I mean, Arizona, their defense is going to just be so different with J.J. Watt anyhow. I mean, and we know the offense is moving in the right direction. So Arizona, they're looking good, man. If they get this guy, that's solid for them. Okay, so then next up, that puts me with the Raiders at number 17, and I'm showing them, they've got some needs on the offensive line, which is basically because they shipped everybody out of town. I'm showing they've got a need at linebacker, mostly outside linebacker, cornerback, defensive tackle, and defensive end. Um, you know, so with J.C. Horn off the board, Caleb Farley is a guy that they could look at. I'm not so sure that they would. Kwity Paye on the defensive end, he looks good, but they've kind of swung and missed on that defensive line spot a few times. And so the pick that I like here, it's one of these best available kind of picks is linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah from Notre Dame. I think he comes in. He's got that versatility to play any linebacker spot. In the right scheme, they say he could even play a little bit of safety if they need him to do that. This is just a team they got to focus on defense, man. I mean, this defense has just been subpar for so long, and I think that gets them a move in the right direction.
That's another one I had in the second round.
Yeah, see, we're going off of some wildly different ratings, and so
Yeah.
I put a lot of weight on the ESPN best available lists, and they've got Owusu Karamoa at 12th overall with a 92 rating. So, but nobody's got the crystal ball, nobody knows how they're really going to be in real life. And I like your methodology, which is looking for fit. I'm putting a lot on a number, you're putting a lot on fit. And so you know, it's just more than one way to skin a cat, man.
Yeah, I had Quiddy Pay here.
Yeah, and he looks like a freak athlete. I just
Hmm.
man, it's like they missed on Arden Key, they missed on Maurice Hurst. It's just like I don't know how many times are they going to take an earlier shot on that defensive line. I just had this guy higher rated, and it's still at a need at linebacker, so that was just the direction I went in for the pick. And I'm doing all this on the fly, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. All right, so that gives you the Dolphins at 18. This is their second pick in the first round.
So this is another one where this is actually my perfect example of this is Najee Harris. This Najee Harris is translates perfectly with the NFL. He can stay in and he can protect Tua if need be. And I think he'd be the perfect fit for Miami here.
I guess I didn't really think about him going to Miami, but I like that. I know we were talking free agency about the possibility of Aaron Jones getting out there and maybe him ended up in Miami. But yeah, I think Najee Harris, that'd be a solid choice for the Dolphins right here. I like that. Okay, so then that kicks it back to me with the Washington football team at 19. I'm showing that they've got a need at left tackle, inside linebacker, outside linebacker, safety, and quarterback. I think at this point in the draft, they'd be hard pressed to get the offensive lineman uh, or to get the quarterback. And so we're looking at a defensive position, whether it's linebacker or safety. Um, and honestly, their defense is pretty solid. When I'm looking at my board, the highest rated defensive guy that I've got on here is safety Trevon Moehrig from TCU. They're saying likely the best coverage safety in the class. He's one of these guys, man. A lot of people are high on him. And so it's one of these things where just kind of looking at the analysis I got, it fits a need and it also fits basically best available. So I'm just going to plug him in.
I had him going 31.
Okay.
And that was my revamped after the Kansas City trade today. But you did me a favor here because I had Jalen Mayfield going to Washington, and you already took out Darisaw from my Chicago Bears pick. So I'm just going to drop Jalen Mayfield down to the Bears. He's good at he can slide over. He has agile feet. He recovers well. He's good at recognizing the pressure points that are coming. So I think he's still coming up and coming good tackle in this draft.
All right, let me get my note here. Let me take him off my board. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Mayfield, and I think that'd be a good spot for him. I was actually curious because we still got Mac Jones on the board. If they would throw, well, I don't know. Yeah, no. Let's just not even go there. You locked him in anyhow, so we're moving on. Okay, so that gives us the Indianapolis Colts at 21. With the retirement of holy cow, I'm drawing a blank, but they've got a need at left tackle. They could use help at defensive end,
Oh God,
wide
who was that?
wide receiver. Was it Anthony Costanzo?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Uh,
it's just like didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just like, oh shit, I forgot about who was that retired?
I
Damn
know,
it.
dude. It was a big deal because they've had such a solid offensive line that missing him could actually be a factor for this team. And so this is one where I think I think honestly, I think they get a guy that they're really happy here that slides to him, which is wide receiver Jalen Waddle. This is where, he's one of these guys. They have a need at wide receiver. They just brought in Wentz. I know they're bringing back T.Y. Hilton, but he's kind of like towards the end of his rope. And they have some young up and coming guys. Waddle brings a little bit of juice to that wide receiver room, and so that's kind of where I think they go here.
I like it. This is where I had Smith going, so I could easily see Waddle going there if he's still available.
Okay.
All right, so 22 with the Titans. So I think this is the first interior defensive lineman to go in the draft. I think this is about a good spot for him to go. I think if I remember correctly from the team from what I don't see it as necessarily a team need. This is more of a value luxury best available pick. Christian Barmore, defensive tackle from Alabama. You can withstand double teams. It just with the bigger season, with the longer season, you're going to basically need to find 80 plays throughout the year to sit your guys down, and I think depth at defensive tackle will be very important here, and I think he's a solid tackle.
Yeah, I like that pick here. I think that they've been missing that interior disruptor since they made that trade, getting Jarrell Casey out of town, over a year ago. And yeah, I like Barmore there. I think that's a good pick for them. And we know that Vrabel, he wants to build that defense. So okay, so at 23, I got the New York Jets. As we talked about earlier, they already got their quarterback. And so from there, this is a team that has still plenty of needs. They need offensive guard. They need a defensive end. A lot of people are mocking them getting a running back to kind of pair with their quarterback, which they could do. My opinion is that you have a defensive-minded head coach, and you have a highly rated defensive end still on the board in Kwity Paye, and so I'm plugging him in here.
See, I think the Jets are going to learn from their mistake with Darnold and give Zach Wilson some weapons here, and I see that weapon as Terrace Mitchell Jr. But I can see if Kwity Paye falls to the Jets, I can see them pick him.
And this may just be me wanting Saleh to not fall into that rookie head coach trap where he says, I'm defensive minded. I can make anybody work on my defense. I'm kind of saying, hey, don't do that. You got a quarterback. Get somebody for your side of the ball too, man, because that's how you made your hay, like keep it rolling. But yeah, I mean, they have so many needs. I can see them going in a lot of different directions. And it definitely makes sense to get the young guy some weapons, like you're saying. So, but I didn't do that here, James. Throwing you another curveball.
That's fine. You're not messing up my draft that much. I think only. Oh no, next the two second round ones you kind of messed me up a little bit so far, but we'll see when we get to that. Okay, so.
Pittsburgh at 24, man.
Pittsburgh at 24. Pittsburgh needs a lot of stuff. A lot of players. Like they have needs upon needs upon needs. One thing I've been saying about Pittsburgh is they never replaced Le'Veon Bell. They don't have a running game. You have that running game that takes that pressure off of Ben. I think this is where Travis Etienne goes. He has a similar running style to Le'Veon Bell, where he lets the play develop in front of him, and then hits the hole. He can get it going. He can run the ball. He's good at getting yards after contact. So I think this is where Travis Etienne goes.
I like that pick. I don't know if they're going to do it because, it's Pittsburgh. They just deprioritize that position. I don't understand why, but, they don't have anybody in the cupboard right now, so they should be making it a priority. Um, yeah, and, I think he's got a lot better north-south ability than some people have been saying about him. And I know that they like to be a physical team. I just think he's got, you know, he's highly rated. So I like what you're doing there. Okay, so then that takes it back to me at 25 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is their second first round pick. Man, we got a lot of guys with two first round picks this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how that's worked out. They addressed their quarterback position at one, and so I'm looking at their next biggest needs are at safety, tight end, defensive tackle. They could use another offensive lineman, preferably a right tackle, and cornerback. And so when I'm kind of skimming my board here, this is it's a lower need for them in the grand scheme of things, but I just don't think that they're going to want to pass on this guy. He's the highest rated guy left on my board with elite ball skills, size, length, and speed, is cornerback Caleb Farley.
Did me a favor there. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you a favor. I like that. It's like we're really picking teams here, and you're getting half the league. I'm getting the other half.
Yeah, I just have to change some stuff around now that I see how this is going. Let me see.
And I think that this is a similar situation as what I was doing with the Jets, by the way, which is, hey, you got two first round picks. You used one on offense, use another one on defense. Try to at least balance it out early on here, and then from there you can do whatever the heck you need to do. But there is merit where if you dug a little bit deeper, if you go down, I've got Tevin Jenkins is the next highest rated offensive lineman on my board. The dude's got a mean streak. He's a little bit undisciplined with his blocks, but we're talking a difference of an 89 rating versus a 91 with Farley. So, I could potentially see them grabbing a guy to protect Trevor Lawrence. It just all depends, man. All depends.
Yeah, so I had them going with Aziz Ojulari here.
Oh, outside linebacker?
Yeah. So
Well, you know who needs an outside linebacker, James?
the Cleveland Browns?
Cleveland at 26.
Oh, exactly. That's why I was saying you did me a favor there here, because I could just slide Aziz Ojulari because he's my highest linebacker I have on my board. So just slide him down to Cleveland. I had Cleveland going with Zaven Collins, but hey, works for
you,
me.
you take what you can get, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that's, so Ojulari's not my highest rated outside guy, but he's like right there neck and neck with the guy that I got, which is, like you said, Zaven Collins. And so, it just kind of depends on what you want from this pick. And you've been looking at the fit and things like that, and I just kind of gifted into you here. So that's cool. Um, and that takes us to the next team on the list here, which is the Baltimore Ravens. They also need an outside linebacker, um, but they have other needs. They need a wide receiver. They need a center. They're going to need basically a guard now, and a safe or tackle. I guess it depends on however they were going to do this, and they even need a safety. And so when I'm looking at the board and I'm keeping
Well,
those needs in mind.
one thing with Baltimore you have to remember is, yeah, what's his Orlando Brown played tackle for them last year, but they traded him away, and the guy they're replacing him with is Stanley.
Well, yeah, so Stanley was there before, and when Stanley was healthy, Orlando Brown was at guard. And so
Yeah,
Stanley's coming back, and so all I'm saying is they need help on that offensive line. It's just, what position are they looking for? I know they need a center. Are they looking for a guard or are they looking for a right tackle? Like
yeah.
it's, and I'm not totally sure, but I do know they need an outside linebacker, and I've got one towards the top of my board. I do have a couple highly rated wide receivers at this spot. I'm not sure they go there. We talked about it. Hollywood Brown, he's stepping up. They just signed Sammy Watkins, so I'm not like totally sold on them doing that here. Tevin Jenkins, he's pretty close at offensive tackle. In this kind of a situation, I want to defer to just basically the highest on my board, which is Zaven Collins at outside linebacker.
I got you on that one. I look more as outside linebacker slash defensive end as interchangeable, and I had them going with Jason Away.
Okay.
Awa. I'm not sure how to pronounce.
Yeah, the guy from Penn State.
Yeah, the guy from Penn State. So I could see him filling that outside linebacker slash defensive end role, edge rusher role, edge role for them.
Yeah, and when I was looking at Zaven Collins, the thing that I liked about him is that and I thought it worked well with Baltimore just kind of in the fly as I was picking there. A lot of people talk about him being a complete package at linebacker with the ability to play in any of those spots. And
Hmm.
Baltimore, they move guys around a lot in Baltimore. And so I just kind of like on the fly there thought, this is a guy that maybe they'd have a little bit of fun with on defense. But yeah, I could see them doing a lot of things.
Yeah, and also I had Zayvon Collins going right before Baltimore anyway, so he
Yeah,
wasn't an
so
option.
we're close. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Uh,
close on these ones anyhow. Yeah.
yeah, on these ones. So the Saints, for the Saints, you know, I'm tempted. I'm tempted. Do I want to?
Just do it, man. Think Nike. Just do it.
I don't think I want to.
Okay.
No, I don't want to. I was considering trading, changing my pick a little bit here. My initial pick. With how our mocks going,
You thinking Mac Jones?
I am, and I'm debating it. I like seriously, if the way it's falling, I could. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna. Uh, New Orleans is gonna go with Mac Jones here.
Okay. I mean, at this point, he is kind of sliding, but it's one of these things that with Mac Jones, early on in this process, you got to remember nobody really even had him with a first round grade up until recently. And so, it's tough. Like I remember reading things, people saying that, you know, he's just getting a lot of credit because he had two of the best wide receivers that were always open, making him look good. And that, if you really looked at his tape, he wasn't a first round pick. And now everybody's kind of come around and said, well, he's got great accuracy and great leadership and all these things. And I don't really know how to rate the guy, but because it's all across the board, I've just kind of discounted him a little bit. And I think unless the 49ers take him at 3, which is it, like you're saying, the fit there is undeniable. He could be the next Matt Ryan. But I think if they don't take him there, I think he slides hard, man.
Hmm. And I think that the need is there with New Orleans. I don't think that Taysom Hill or Jameis are long term solutions there.
Yeah.
And Peyton's phenomenal with quarterbacks. So
All right, I like that. I got him plugged in, and yeah, All right, so next up, we've got the Green Bay Packers at 29. This is a team that, we know Rodgers wants a wide receiver. I don't know that they're going to get it here. They also have a need at inside linebacker. This was like one of the shittiest run defenses in the league last year. They need a running, well, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line here. They don't need a running back. They definitely don't need that. They need a guard, they need a cornerback, and they need a defensive tackle. When I'm scanning my board here, the name that's popping out at me that I just don't think that they could pass on is inside linebacker Nick Bolton from Missouri. This guy is viewed as the best run defender in this class, very quick to read the play. That could be a huge piece for this defense.
Wait, who is that?
Nick Bolton.
Holy shit, we have a pick the same.
Wow!
Sorry, I couldn't believe it. I need you to repeat it. I had Nick
Bolton.
I had Nick Bolton going to Green Bay.
Hey, great minds think alike on this one pick, anyhow.
Yeah, which means I'm gonna have to find another pick because I kind of slid down and. All right. So, anyways.
Okay, so you're up next at 30 with the Buffalo Bills.
All right. So the Buffalo Bills have a couple things that they need. I mean, I just have to pull it back up, switching back and forth. It's kind of so Buffalo needs defensive end, tight end, running back, guard, corner, and defensive tackle. So when I looked at them and I tried to find with my highest rated player that was left at these positions, I have Asante Samuel Jr., corner from Florida State going to Buffalo. I think he's kind of down there on a lot of people's boards, but when I look at his talent and his abilities down at Florida State, and he was able to stand out down there on a team that was actually absolutely terrible.
Okay. And I mean, hey, this is another guy that's coming from a great bloodline. And we know Buffalo likes to frickin' just stack the cupboard in the secondary. And so, that'd be plugging him in. When I was looking at it, just kind of on the fly, I was thinking Jalen Phillips at defensive end because we know they also like to be stacked on that defensive line. Yeah, I could get on board with them taking Asante Samuel Jr. Okay, so then back to me at 31 with the Baltimore Ravens. And so this is one I just had him taking Zayvon Collins at 27. Arguably they still need some help on the edge. Even though they always seem to find guys, I don't want to plug too much in there. Could they still go wide receiver here, or offensive lineman, or safety? And so, taking a look at my board, this is tough, man. This is tough because, man, there's just some wide receivers floating up there, and I don't know if I want to plug one of them in. If I don't plug in a wide receiver, I'm looking at an offensive lineman. I'm going to do that because they've got a backfill for Orlando Brown, and so I'm between two guys. I'm between Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State and Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame. Listen, here's the deal. Ronnie Stanley's been great for them out of Notre Dame, so I'm going to give him Eichenberg. He can come in and play that right tackle spot, or if they want to move him into guard, he could do that too. So that's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I had Eichenberg going to Carolina in the second round. I had originally had Morig here.
Okay, yeah, Trevon Moehrig. Yep.
Yeah,
And
until
Moehrig might slide because safeties do have a tendency to slide in the draft. And maybe I was a little antsy putting him up with Washington. But hey, it's on the board now. It's locked in stone, James. There's no going back.
there's going back, but that's okay. It's just
uh, yeah, yeah. Keep going. What are you saying?
all right. So I don't know how to go with this one. Basically, Tampa Bay is looking for backups by the time they get here. And I've always said you draft a quarterback in the first round, he's ready to start in 2 years. That's my theory about it. If it's a failed pick if he doesn't start in 2 years. Brady has about 2 years left in the league, and actually, I'm gonna actually flip it from my original. So just original thought was Kellen Mond, but I'm actually gonna change it
Okay.
because I just started thinking about um, what Bruce Arians likes to do and how Bruce Arians likes to play, and I think sometimes Kellen Mond's deep throws are flat, and so it just occurred to me that's not the right pick. This person can um, fire the ball like no other. If he was with Atlanta or not with Alabama last year, he would have easily won the Heisman Trophy. And I think this is where the sixth quarterback of the first round goes. Kyle Trask.
Okay. All right. You're throwing me for a loop there because I would have for sure went with either Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver from Florida, or maybe even Elijah Moore, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. I guess I'm thinking that they want a guy that's going to step in and maybe fill a little bit of that Antonio Brown role because they're just stacked all over the place, and that's where they're going to get the most bang for the buck. But um, you're thinking long term, and I do like Trask. I just had him rated a lot lower, and so but I think there's merit with what you're saying. I'm not like gonna call you out here. I don't call you names or do anything mean like that. But the merit is that this is still a first round pick, and if they're playing the long game, they do maybe consider reaching on a quarterback so they can exercise that fifth year option.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an interesting thought. Okay, so that takes us to the end of the first round. And, just to point this out, there were three teams without a first round pick, which included the Houston Texans, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. Uh, you
And the
know,
Kansas City Chiefs.
Thank you. After today's trade and the Kansas City Chiefs, so it's four teams. I'm going off my old notes. That's why we're here. Checks and balances, James. Checks and balances. And so now we're going back into the second round, which starts off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so far in our mock, they've grabbed quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and they have also, I've got them taking cornerback Caleb Farley. So they still have needs at safety, tight end, defensive tackle, and right tackle. And so when I'm looking at the board, when I'm looking at the board, I, I'm honestly I'm tempted to go Jalen Phillips here, but I'm not because I think that this goes back to where we talked about. You've got a quarterback, early round pick, number one overall. You better protect him. Their offensive line's not bad. I would just get another guy in there to be safe. And so this is where I'm looking at plugging in Tevin Jenkins.
You son of a bitch. I mean, I had Tevin Jenkins going to the Saints originally until I flipped that up with Mac Jones falling that. So I was gonna slide him in at number 34.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
You get the Jets now. You get to have fun here with the Jets. You want to get him weapons, don't you?
Yeah, and this wide receiver still
Still out
hasn't
there.
been drafted.
Yeah.
Terrace Mitchell Jr.
There you go. I got Kadarius Toney higher than him, but they're very close. They're very
Mm-hmm.
close. And you know,
Yeah,
and
I have them close. I like I just like what I see out of Mitchell a little bit more than Toney, but I could see Kadarius Toney going there as well. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Mitchell.
yeah, and I like it. I think he has they say he explodes off the line, great top end speed. I think the one of the reasons why I was comfortable keeping Tony higher than him is that there has been some comments about Mitchell having drop issues, and so but either way, like we said, they're both very closely rated. You're getting your guys some weapons, and so I think that's cool, man. Okay, well, now next up, we've got the Atlanta Falcons. And this is a spot where, first round, we talked about it. They couldn't pass on Kyle Pitts, even though they had a bigger need at defensive end. And so this is where Jalen Phillips finally falls into place here. I think they get a steal with him in the second round, even though I know he's graded late first round, kind of early second round. I think this is a guy that's got a high ceiling as a pass rusher. And I've even read that he can play tackle if the system calls for it. And so I'm putting in defensive end Jalen Phillips.
You know, it's funny that we take two separate approaches to this, and somehow every once in a while end up with the exact same player. Just like this one. This is where that's who I had Atlanta taking. It was Jalen Phillips. All right, Miami.
Nice. Yeah. Miami, dude, they're just loading it up, man. Where do they go next? I mean, I guess we should just recap. So who did we give them in the first round? We gave them Rashawn
It
Slater
was
at 6
Rashawn Slater
and
and
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris at 18.
Yeah, I mean, so you're basically knocking out two of their top needs. Where do they go from here? Do they keep building that offensive line or do they go defense?
So this is where I had Awusa Karamoa going,
Okay. Oh, they would have loved
and
it if he fell to them in the second round.
yeah,
What about your guy from Penn State, man?
my guy from Penn State. Which
Didn't you
one?
have Jason Owe going in the first round? Would you slide him down, even though he's defensive
Huh?
end? It's kind of more, you kind of put him in that edge spot maybe somewhere.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I don't think I like that.
Okay.
I, I don't actually.
This is your pick, man. This is your pick. I want you to feel comfortable with your pick.
Wait, did you took Tevin Jenkins somewhere, didn't you?
Correct. Yeah, I took him just right at the top with the Jaguars at 33.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so yeah, I would I guess then that leaves me wait,
Jason Owe, or however you say it.
Owayer from Penn State here. I'm not sold that he'll drop this far, but if he does, I think it'd be a solid defensive pick. Like I had Usa Karamoa, and then I was thinking about moving somebody up from down below, but
I gotcha. Yeah, and you never know. I mean, this is one of these deals where, ESPN, they've got Owe rated as their 43rd pick, and so it just everybody's got a different flavor. Um, all right, so that puts me next up at 37 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I guess I better just start by going back where we left off with these guys. You had them taking Patrick Surtain the second in the first round, which I think that's a great pick for them. I think it's second round here, and honestly, Kadarius Toney is still available. They need a wide receiver. I know you're thinking that maybe they're a little bit gun shy to do it. I just can't see this guy falling that much farther, and so I'm plugging him in here, man.
You mean my pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, Kadarius Toney?
Oh, you had him in here too, huh?
Yeah, that's where I had him. I didn't see them going first round with him. A little bit, take a little bit of pressure off the pick, and
Yeah,
had him taking him in the second round. I like that pick.
nice, nice. All right, man, back to you, Cincinnati.
All right, so Cincinnati.
I know who I like in this pick, but I want you to make the pick, and then I'll give you my opinion before I take my next pick.
Okay, so Cincinnati needs outside linebacker, defensive end, wide receiver, tight end, tackle, center. Who
They
did
need
we
a
have
lot of
them?
shit.
Yeah, in the first round. You had them taking the tackle of Sewell. I think in the second round they switch it up and they take a defensive player, and that defensive player is going to be Ronnie Perkins from Oklahoma.
Okay. I can't argue with that. They definitely have a need there. My note on him is that even he might be a little bit undersized, but he's been a pretty disruptive run defender. And so yeah, that's good. It fits. My pick, maybe maybe a little early, but my pick would have been Landon Dickerson, the center from Alabama. I think that guy would have been a first rounder had it not been for his injury. And it kind of goes back to this whole thing of protecting Burrow, man. I would have just freaking doubled down, but it's that's why we're doing it this way because you got to have that unpredictability factor. So okay, so then that pushes it to me with Carolina at 39, and they grab Jamar Chase in the first. They have a need at tight end, guard, defensive tackle, and safety. And so when I'm skimming my board, let's see who pops out for me with these guys. I mean, I could go best available defensive end is Joe Tryon. I do think that would fit well here. Um, or would they want an inside guy, Levi Onzaworski, more disruptive than the stats show. Um, and I'm trying to think, didn't they just draft a defensive end last year fairly early? Did they get Gross Matos, or where'd he go?
They might have. Last year, Carolina drafted they had like 8 picks and they drafted all defense.
Yeah. Would they keep doing that, or oh man, it just feels like a stretch to go tight end here. They could go Pat Freiermuth from Penn State. I've heard him rising up, and they definitely have a need at tight end. If they're going Chase in the first round, I don't know. I think they're going defense, and I'm putting Joe Tryon in there because he's my higher rated guy. So defensive end Joe Tryon from Washington. I don't have a lot of conviction with that pick, James, if you couldn't tell.
See, I had him dropping to the Giants at 42.
Okay.
And I'm trying to I was trying to quickly find who Carolina took last year, and defensive lineman. Yeah, they did take. They had took Gross Matos last year.
Well, they're doubling down. And you know what? They did have what's his face? Derek Brown at defensive tackle last year. And
Hmm.
so that makes me more comfortable with the Joe Tryon pick because Gross Matos wasn't lighting the world on fire last year. Hopefully he develops, but even if he does develop, they're going to need another guy on the opposite side. And so I feel a little bit better as this pick is the more I'm thinking about it. But
Yes.
okay, yeah, go
See,
ahead.
either way, the guys you were talking about here uh, would have screwed me one way or another. I had them because I had them going Eichenberg here,
Okay.
and then so you talked on Wuzuriki, blah blah blah. However,
On
which one?
Zawerki?
Uh,
I don't know how to say it. I just say it fast, so maybe people think I got it right.
right. So
Levi. Let's just call it by the first name.
Levi, I think, is going to go to Denver.
I think that's a perfect fit for Denver, man.
Yeah, I think the the more I looked at it, the better I thought the fit was as well for Denver. I think yeah, the defense. I think they had a solid defense last year, and I think adding him here would just make that defense just that much better.
Yeah, and they bailed on Jarrell Casey too, so they definitely have the need at the spot. And my note on this guy was that he's more disruptive than the stats show, and he's got really good speed for a big guy. And so that's, and I mean they're getting Von Miller back. I mean, they got a defensive minded coach, man. I like what that could do for this team. Okay, so now back to me at 41 with the Detroit Lions. And so, despite popular opinion, I did not go wide receiver early on. And and honestly, with the way my board played out, I could have been fine flipping this. They inside linebacker Yamin Davis out of Kentucky is available, and so if they decided to go wide receiver first round, I'd be happy them getting this guy in the second round. But they didn't. We flipped it around, and so basically we've got I'm looking at wide receiver. My board has a bunch of guys floating up there now. You got Elijah Moore, as I just said. You got Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. You got Tutu Atwell, and you can go down from there. Out of these guys, the one I like the most is Bateman out of Minnesota. Good size. He's got the versatility to line up outside or inside, and a lot of people are expecting this guy to hit the ground running. I think they get this guy in the second round, and he's basically a plug and play starter right out of the gate.
So I had them going with Yamin Davis here. So we just flipped.
Yeah, hey, good deal.
Um, so you kind of screwed me on this pick. I've been so I
I
because I had
screwed
Tryon
you. That's
going.
that's how it works, man. I'm out to get you, and you're out to get me. I want to throw some smoke screens up, get you looking that way, grab something over that way, you know.
Yeah, so I had Tryon going here to the Giants. I know you might say, well, why Tryon? Why more defense to the Giants? I think defense was one of their big issues last year.
Yeah.
Um, I could see. Now, do I want to do? I just don't know what I want to do here.
So what did we do first round for these guys? We did Darisaw, so that helps the offensive line, which, as I was
Yeah,
saying,
oh yeah, that's right.
I think they got a trio of openings on that offensive line. And so, they could go back to the well hypothetically, or they could focus on defense. And they really need help on every level of defense. And so I think you got your pick of the litter here, man, on what you want to do. Really, probably the only thing they don't need is wide receiver. And so, any pick you could do Yamin Davis here. You could do whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. See, I keep looking below where where the pick is, I always forget to look above. So yeah, so I'm gonna go Yaman Davis here.
Yeah, and I might not be saying that right either, but I'm assuming it's a soft J.
Yeah. I,
Okay, so yeah. So that goes to 43. We got the 49ers at 43. And so they address quarterback in the first round. They need help at cornerback, defensive tackle. They could use a guard, a wide receiver, not as huge of a need, but a little bit of a need, and a safety. And so this one, I mean, I got nothing but people blacked out on my page here, except for this guy sitting at the top is cornerback Greg Newsome from Northwestern. Guy's got a smooth pedal with closing ability. He's seen as a better zone corner, but can play man heavy. I think that they'd pick him up in a heartbeat at this spot.
yeah. I knew some going 33rd to Jacksonville.
Okay,
So that's
so they're getting
I like.
they're getting a steal in this iteration. Yeah,
Yeah, I had San Francisco going with Elijah Moore.
okay.
All right, Dallas at number 44.
Dallas,
We
man,
had,
it's they got a lot of needs, man. I can't when I think of Dallas, I'm like, how do they have so many? I know they sucked last year, but it seemed like the year before they were so much better, and it just like, what the heck happened with that team?
yeah, I don't know what happened. They had some retirement, they had some injuries last year. Uh, they're not going to have to look very far for this player. He played down in Baton Rouge, so it's not that far of a track. He's able to play through pain and injuries. He's got good work ethic. He can get off blocks quickly to make a tackle. Um, he
Hit me.
transferred to LSU from North Dakota State, and that is Jabril Cox,
Ooh,
linebacker.
I like that pick there, man. And so did Sean Lee retire or did they just let him go?
I
I,
think
I
he retired. I can't remember I can't
yeah.
remember exactly what happened with John Lee, but I'm pretty sure he retired.
So either way, you're plugging this guy in with Jalen Smith and what's the other the young guy they got that
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank, but he's played great for a young linebacker. I like that. That gives him a solid trio at linebacker. Okay, so that kicks me back to Jacksonville. Man, these guys have so many picks. I better just go back and look. They got their quarterback, they got their tackle, and they got a cornerback. So from here, man, I'm doing it. I'm doing it whether you like it or not, James. They're taking tight end Pat Fryermuth from Penn State.
I love that pick there. I love that pick there.
I'm surprised you like it. When the last time we were talking tight ends, you were like, "Ah, there's none other than Pitts in this class."
No, 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 no. All I said was Pitts is a Hall of Famer.
Okay,
Pitts is
okay.
by far the best tight end in this class. I
Oh
didn't say
yeah,
there was
oh
no
yeah,
other tight
yeah.
ends in this class.
All right,
I absolutely love that pick there. That's exactly who I had Jacksonville taking at 45.
nice man.
Exactly who I had.
I like we got a little bit overlap. That's nice. And hey, what do you know? You get to make a Lions pick next. I was hoping I'd get all three of them, but that's okay.
That's okay. He's this player here. I mean, he has a little bit of an injury concern hanging over his head, but he can play center or guard for the Lions. He's good at he's got He's a vocal leader. He was a vocal leader down there in Tuscaloosa. He's pretty big. He's quick hands. He's got good punch blocking. He's Landon Dickerson, center from Alabama.
All right, man. So we'd be moving over Ragno, or maybe moving this guy over.
Yeah, he could
Um,
play. He played center in at Alabama, but he can play either guard or center for the Lions.
yeah, and it's sad that the Lions need help on the offensive line still because we've invested so much there. But you're right, we do need help, and we brought in Goff. We're paying him a ton of money. We better protect him. All right, so that puts me at 47 with the Chargers. And just recapping here, we had the Chargers taking Devonta Smith in the first. Man, they still need a left tackle. I don't know that they're getting a left tackle here, but let me just look at my board. There's Elijah Molden and Kelvin Joseph at cornerback, Samuel Cosme at tackle, Creed Humphrey at center, but they don't need center, and I don't know how he does moving over to guard. Um, Man, I really want to give him an offensive lineman. I'm just not seeing it here. I'm going Kelvin Joseph at cornerback.
I had Calvin Joseph going to the Raiders. That's where I saw him going. I had Patrick Jones, the second uh, defensive end edge guy from Pittsburgh, going there.
So I sniped you on the pick.
Yeah, you did.
And I had cornerback as a higher need, and it ended up being a higher rated player on my board too. So it just kind of doubled down. And I mean that does contradict a little bit of what I talked about earlier with the trenches. It just you were ribbing me for not going cornerback in the first, I thought. So, or no, hang on a second.
Yeah,
Hang on a second.
I
Yeah.
had, I had, I had Caleb Farley as
Oh,
who the Chargers
there.
picked in the
Yeah. There
first
we
round.
go.
Who did you have? Who did you have the Raiders pick in the first round?
All right. So the Raiders, I had them taking Jeremiah Owusu Karamoa in the first.
Okay, so I'm just gonna slide my Chargers pick down, and I'm gonna go with Patrick Jones the second for the Raiders.
Okay. Yep. That's where they go back to that defensive line well, and hopefully they nail it, man. They've been swinging and missing there. And I got Jones as an above average prospect with a good mix of pass rush moves. That's my note on him, and you know, let's see what happens. So next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals. This is one where let's see, I've got them. We had them taking a cornerback early on, J.C. Horn. That's a solid pick. I got them needing tight end, offensive line help, defensive tackle. I mean, really, they got two phenomenal ends, but they do need a defensive tackle, inside linebacker, and I think cornerback's covered here. The top guy on my board that fits in this is Chaz Surratt at inside linebacker, but I don't want to stop there. Tight end Hunter Long is right there, very closely rated. Samuel Cosme, maybe that's the offensive line help that they get. I'm going to say it's between those three guys. And if I'm looking at what they've got going on, they got Watt. They drafted a cornerback in the first round, if that's what we're saying here. I think second round, it's between the tight end or the tackle. And I'm going with the tight end here with Hunter Long from Boston College. It's their top need on my board on my
Yeah,
list anyhow. So
I don't have a second tight end rated in the second round. Um, I have them going Chaz Surratt,
Okay.
Sherratt, however you pronounce it.
I do like him there too.
There. Uh, so we're back to Miami. Can you recap who we've had Miami take
Oh
real
yeah,
quick?
yeah. We got a lot of multiple picks here. So they took Rashawn Slater at 6. They took Najee Harris at 18, and they
That's
took Jason Owe at 36.
okay. So at 50, this player had 10 has 10 interceptions and 5 forced fumbles in his 34 college games he's played in. He reads the quarterback well. He recognizes repeat plays and tendencies from film. He's strong tackler. He attacks high point of the ball. This is safety Richie Grant from UCF.
All right. Yeah, and I was actually just reading about him earlier today. I've not heard a ton about him up until now. Um, what I was reading is he's a little bit undersized, but still very physical as a run defender. And so yeah, that's interesting, and that fills a need for these guys. I like that pick. I might have gone after Cosme here just to give him that extra help on the offensive line. But I like that. That's solid. So that moves it over to me with the Washington football team up next. And so we had them going with a safety in the first, and they still have a need at left tackle, inside linebacker, outside linebacker, and quarterback. I like them sticking on the defensive theme here. I don't think Cosme is going to be a left tackle, and so I think they're going to get more bang for their buck going Chaz Surratt here, inside linebacker.
Okay. I had them actually going quarterback with this pick. I had Kellen Mond going here.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, that's another one. I didn't have, I've got Mond a lot further down on the board, but they do need to get a guy somewhere in here to start waiting in the wings.
Yeah,
Fitzy is only
because
going to be, a short-term deal.
yeah, one of the things that happens every year is somebody reaches on a quarterback, and I think that part of the reason why they signed Fitzpatrick is because they intend on coming out of this draft with a quarterback.
Okay.
All right, Chicago Bears. You sniped my pick
Aha!
when you picked Rashad Bateman, and
There's still a lot of wide receivers, man, if you're thinking wide receiver.
I had this guy going to San Francisco at 43, and so I'm going to go Elijah Moore here. Elijah Moore at 52 to the Chicago Bears.
I think that's a good pick because we know that things are tense with them and Allen Robinson. And they got, what's his name, Darnell Mooney. Looks like he's a guy that's moving in the right direction, but probably not a one. This gives them that safety blanket as maybe this guy develops into the one and Allen Robinson can ride off into the sunset somewhere else or whatever. I like that pick there. I think that's a good bang for the buck kind of pick. So then next up, we got the Tennessee Titans. We had them taking Christian Barmore in the first. I'm showing cornerback is their big need at this point, but they could also use a wide receiver too, a tight end, a right tackle, and a safety. Oh, this is interesting. Man. So there's Elijah Molden at cornerback. There's Samuel Cosme. There's so many wide receivers. There's Andre Cisco, Javon Holland. I'm thinking, man, I'm thinking they go Samuel Cosme here, and it's not the biggest need for them, but the reason I'm doing it is because so much of this team goes through that running game with Derrick Henry. And I think they need to make sure that they're keeping that line stacked so that he can just keep frickin' pounding the rock. And, with them going defense early on, I'm just kicking it back here. They're going offense now. It's just tit for tat.
See, I had Cosme going to Seattle
Okay. Yeah,
at
just a couple
56.
picks later. Yeah.
Yeah, I had them going with Atwell here, the wide receiver from Louisville.
Okay. And it would have fit a higher need than Cosme. I guess this was just a spur of the moment thinking about, they got to keep that offensive line rock solid because they just run the shit out of the ball. All right, so back to you, man. Indy at 54. I know who I'd pick here, but I want to hear who you would pick here.
So with Indy, you had them picking a wide receiver in the first round,
Oh yeah.
and their needs are that's right. They need a defensive end. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. How about Basham from Wake Forest? Fits the
Yeah,
bill.
I like that pick here. I like it a lot. Yeah, I think he'd go nicely on that line. And honestly, my other pick would have been, and I think it's a stretch pick, but I was thinking offensive lineman Dylan Radins from North Dakota State. Uh, there has been some talk about Quentin Nelson moving to left tackle, and this guy is one of these exceptional kind of athletes. Um, that maybe they could just fit him in somewhere else and kind of juggle him around. But I would prefer what you did with Basham. I'm digging that, man. I like that.
Yeah. See, and that was where I had a slight problem with the trade today because I had him or not Basham, North Dakota State guy. I just forgot his name. That
Talking
you
about
just said.
Radins, however you say his name.
Yeah, I had him going to Kansas City initially
Okay.
and then the trade today threw that off a little bit. But that's a good one for the pick you sniped me on. Anyways,
Nice, nice. Okay, so that takes us back to me with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 55. And if I'm looking at this, you know, I think honestly, this is where you start to wonder where you're going to prioritize. I think they could use some extra help at cornerback, and there's some guys on the board, but I also think that they need a lot of help on that offensive line now. And the pick that I like here is Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma.
that's a good pick. I had him going to the Rams at 57. I had Elijah Molden here. I just thought it
I think that's I
at
think
this.
yeah, I think you could flip them. They're interchangeable in my opinion.
Yeah, I think defense is the signature of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and beefing up that defense is their number one priority.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, hey, you got to protect Roethlisberger. If you're going running back in the first, give him some lanes. And so I was just looking at it as this is a Pittsburgh team that has a lot of needs, man, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I
It
agree with
is.
you. I think maybe in reality they might go defense, but this is my pick. So
Oh,
that's my pick. All right, man. Seattle. Who do you like for the Seahawks here?
So I had Samuel Cosme going to Seattle.
Okay, I jacked you up on that.
You jacked me up on that, which is fine. And then I was gonna slide Creed Humphrey on there, and then I was like, you know what? Ryan's probably gonna snipe me on that one too. So I went with Dylan Radins, tackle from North Dakota State here.
Okay, I like that pick, man. Everything I read about him is that maybe he needs to pack on a little bit of weight, but he's super athletic, and like they're saying, could be really good in his own system. But just I don't know. I like what I'm reading on this guy, and I think he's a great pick in the second round if you can get him here.
Hmm.
Okay, so then I got the Rams at 57. And the Rams, they've got some needs, man. They're stacked. They're a playoff team, but they need a center, like you were saying. They need an inside linebacker. They need a guard, a defensive end, an outside linebacker, a safety. Um, Not a lot of those really line up with what's left on my board. Um, I do have Javon Holland is the top guy for those needs at safety. I just want to look here. There's also Andre Cisco, who's pretty close. Jackson Carman at guard. Man, where do they go? Where do they go, James? I'm thinking, I'm thinking they go Andre Cisco at safety. I mean,
You
They lost
son
John
of a bitch.
Johnson. They
You
lost
son of
John
a bitch.
Johnson in free agency. I think they're trying to backfill him. So I sniped you again, I take it.
Yeah, I had Cisco going to the Chiefs at 58. Uh,
Well, I'm throwing you for a loop.
I'm good. So my next rated, I think the Chiefs they still go with safety here. That's how where I have it rated. I have has he
Talking about
Javon Holland's still there, right?
he's out there, man.
So yeah, so Javon Holland will. I don't think he's a second round pick, but since
I mean, we're
actually no. No, 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 no. What am I thinking here? I'm
you're
no,
back at you're back. You still got time on the clock. You still got time on the
all right.
clock.
So so I had the Chiefs drafting this player um at number 63.
Okay.
And I didn't have Holland as a second round talent, and since 63 is you, not me.
Oh,
Um,
oh, okay, okay. Where are you going here, James?
he's long body defender. He mirror early ridges, the early stages of the route from a back pedal. He has downfield speed. He's good at on guarding the underneath routes. Ifedi Melifonwu, cornerback from Syracuse.
Oh, I like that.
If Ifiadu, sorry,
Yeah,
Melifonwu, however you fucking pronounce it.
yeah, Melifonwu. Yeah, yeah. My note on him is that it's this guy's like height, weight, speed. Like, the production needs improvement, but there's just so much there that Yeah. Okay. I like that. So then it's me with the Cleveland Browns, and you gave them Aziz Ajulari in the first, which fills their biggest need at outside linebacker. I still show them needing defensive tackle, cornerback, defensive end, safety, inside linebacker. A lot of defensive help. Um, I mean, this guy, he's sticking out at the top of my board, and I'm just going to plug him in here. He's going to be a great complement with Denzel Ward as cornerback Elijah Molden.
I like it. I like that. Um, I again didn't look up. I just went down from where you sniped me, and I have Molden rated
Higher
ahead
than
of
Melifonwu.
Melifon Wu, but
Oh, shame
that's
on you. That's how you get fired as a GM, James. Don't tell people that. Don't make that public. You tell them, oh no, I had Melifonwu. I see something in him.
no. I see something in Melifon Wu, but
Yes,
I just forgot about Molden, and that's fine because I'm not doing this as much on the fly as you are, so I keep forgetting to
to look
mark
up.
the guys to look up.
I got you.
Um, so the Saints, I gave them a quarterback in the first round,
Yes, you did.
and I have their needs as wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback, tight end, and guard. And notice how their needs don't say quarterback, but I couldn't pass
You
on
couldn't
Mac Jones.
pass. Yeah, I get it. You couldn't
Yeah.
pass, man. Yeah.
So who do I go with here?
I know that they're looking at getting another wide receiver to go with Michael Thomas, but is that is that the best pick for what's on the board, or do they go defense? You know,
Well,
there's a lot of options I think for them.
well, I have to compare my notes because I have a wide receiver rated higher, but I thought he was a good fit with the team I had him going to. So I have to look and see at my notes on him to see what I want to do because I don't
Sure.
think he's been picked yet.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd still be a good fit in New Orleans. And Tooney's been taken, yes.
I'm sorry, who's that?
Kadarius Tooney, you took him earlier.
Yes, 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 yes.
So
At wide receiver, I'm showing Tutu Atwell. I'm showing
yeah,
Rondale Moore.
yeah, I know. Well, I know. I'm I'm debating it because I originally had Rondell Moore here,
Okay.
but if this guy had a real quarterback in college, he would easily be in the top three, top four wide receivers that in this draft, maybe five. He's he could he can do. He's got multiple touchdowns on jet sweeps. He's good in the slot. I think he'd be a good fit here. Is Tutu Atwell?
Okay. Yeah, and he's pretty highly rated on my board at this point. He's one of the top guys left. I just I'm nervous about what's going to happen with him for real because he's only listed as 5'9", 155 pounds. That's the height's not the big deal. It's the weight is, you worry about a guy like that holding up with the NFL punishment, but it's anything can happen, man. Anything can happen. Okay, so Buffalo Bills at 61. What do I want to do with these guys? We gave them Asante Samuel Jr. in the first, which I think was solid. They could use a defensive end still, a tight end, a running back, a guard. They could go in a lot of different directions. And I think if the board falls to them this way, it's very favorable for them. I don't think they're going to go running back. I think they're going to try their three-headed attack with the guys that they got. Um, Peyton Turner sitting there at defensive end, and he's like really kind of like a traditional 4-3 guy with solid size. Could be a good fit for them. Um, if they go offensive line, you're talking Jackson Carman or Quinn Miners. I like that guy out of Wisconsin Whitewater. Oh, defensive tackle, you got Alan McNeil. He's the best run stopper in the class, arguably. I think I think it's defensive end for these guys. They like having a lot of depth on that line, and so I'm going Peyton Turner, defensive end.
I had them. I think Buffalo has to come out of this draft with a running back, and I had them going Javante Williams.
Yeah, he's sliding at this point, big time. But man, here's the thing. So he's a classic downhill kind of power running back. Not a lot of speed to his game, but that's just not how those guys play. I just, it's like I with Buffalo, I keep thinking it's all about Josh Allen. And, they got Moss, they got Singletary, and they brought in Breida, right? I mean, it just seems like would they really add a fourth guy to that mix, or did they think that those three are going to be the rotation?
True, true.
But I agree with you. If I was their GM, I'd be looking at getting him a guy. But I'm just wondering how many snaps is that guy going to get? Is it worth them putting a second round pick on him? But hey, if you're locking him in, or I mean, well, what was my pick, so you're not locking him in. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we got Peyton Turner here. All right, and that puts you at Green Bay, 62. Blue, 62.
So we went with who in the first round for Green Bay?
All right, so Green Bay got Nick Bolton, inside linebacker.
Okay, that's what I thought. Um, I think the best fit here. All right, so Green Bay does not believe in giving Aaron Rodgers weapons.
No.
They don't believe in it at all.
Idiots.
So there's
Idiots.
so so my hesitation was, well, maybe they go wide receiver here, but it's Green Bay, so they're not going to go wide receiver. The future in Green Bay is not Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be Jordan Love. And so when you have the young quarterback coming in, you need offensive line help to protect him. And so they're going to go with Jackson Carman, guard Clemson.
I like that pick. I would have I would have put Alan McNeil in there because he's like the best run stopper in the class, and we know that that was a problem for him last year. But I like Carmen. I would have been good with Quinn Miners there as well. I think they have some different directions that they go, and I like your logic. Keep that line steady because they're going to be handing it off at some point to an inexperienced guy. Okay, so that puts me at 63 with the Chiefs. I'm showing them having needs at let's see, tackle, offensive tackle, maybe not anymore, I guess. Defensive end, inside linebacker, wide receiver, and not so much cornerback anymore because you took care of that. So looking at who I got best available back on my board, I mean, they lost Sammy Watkins, and I think that you want to keep Mahomes happy and filled with weapons. And the top guy I got on here, other than Javante Williams, which I don't think they're going running back, is Rondale Moore at wide receiver. So I'm going to plug him in.
Yeah, I originally had him going to the Saints before Atwell fell. So I like that pick there.
I think they'd be a really good pick for them, honestly, if it played out this way. All right, so hey, last but not least, man, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again, and for them, it's all luxury picks because they're bringing back. I think are they literally bringing back all of their starters?
All 22 starters from last year are
That's just
returning.
fucking nuts. It's nuts, but it's awesome. I'm excited to see, can they just roll through teams this year now that they've had a whole year together, or is there enough tape on them that it's going to be, one of those kind of struggle years where they got to adjust? But give me your pick, man. Who do you think they take here?
All right, this guy can play inside or outside. He had 2 interceptions returned for a touchdown in the 2020 season. He's fights back against push-offs at the top of the route. None other than cornerback Eric Stokes from Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, and Georgia, they had a pretty stacked secondary. I think they've got like two cornerbacks and a safety projected to go in the first couple rounds this year. And so, yeah, yeah, and I my note on him, lots of press man experience, typically a steady performer. You know, I just hope he doesn't beat out my guy from Central Michigan, man. So, but that's cool. I think that's good. They could use the help there. That was one of the areas of concern last year. But they do have young guys coming up, and so just add one more into the mix and let the best man get the playing time.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I'm totally good with that. I'm not sure that I would have done anything different there, except maybe you plug in another offensive lineman just to have some depth and keep Brady super safe. But I think that's solid, man. And so that gets us through the first and the second round. I knew I threw you some curveballs, but honestly, I don't think that we made too many crazy reach picks. I think we kind of stuck to the ratings, we stuck to the needs, we prioritized it well. Yeah, there were some zigs and zags, but that's how the real draft goes.
Exactly. I'll have to send you my original one just so I can prove it once it turns out to be absolutely correct.
Oh, just like Russell Wilson to Chicago?
Uh, is it past? Is it start of the season yet?
All right. Hey, we'll see how that one plays out. We might have to have another bet on that one because you feel very passionately about it. Oh, I just dropped my bottle. That's okay. Okay. Well, hey,
At
so
least
that's
it didn't shatter. So
no, well, it's just a plastic bottle. But okay, so that is our mock draft. The last thing we got here before we shut it down is our question of the week. And so, James, there have already been a couple of trades for the draft. The most notably ones including the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Eagles were in on some of these, and now recently Baltimore and Kansas City. How many more, if any, do you think will happen in the first round? Is it just the one that we've got, Detroit, New England, or do you think we're going to see a couple more slide in there other than that one? I'm going to say just Detroit, New England. I think there's already been a lot of action in this first round. And so I think we get one more. I hope it's Detroit, New England, but whether it's them or somebody else, I think we get one more and that's it that affects first round picks. What do you think, man?
I think there's a couple possibilities there because I think teams once New England trades up, I hear Carolina's looking to trade down. I hear
Tennessee wants to move up.
Tennessee wants to move up. The Giants want to move down. Uh, Washington, I'm hearing might want to move up for that quarterback if they can. The Bears, I'm hearing want to move up. I don't think there's any more. Like I think maybe one more trade, like possibly like the New England Detroit trade we discussed, or something like that, or Denver maybe moves up to number 7, but I don't think outside of that there's more trading in the first round. We've already had, like you said, a whole shitload of trades
Oh yeah.
in the first round.
Well, sweet. All right. So for anybody who's watching, let us know what you think. You think we're going to get some more trade action, or you think we're coming to the end here because we've already had such a flurry of trades. Um, but aside from that, that's all I got, James. You have any closing thoughts?
No,
Cool,
just
cool.
just that Russell Wilson is going to go to Chicago.
Okay, we shall see. So yeah, anybody who's still watching, thank you. We appreciate the support. If you like the show, give us that thumbs up. And if you really liked us, hit the subscribe button. James, like always, man, it was fun. I'll catch up with you in a bit.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.